Hello everyone, FPL Raptor here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. In today's video we have my Game Week 26 transfer plans where I've got 3 free transfers and I need to probably change my assistant manager. If you do enjoy today's video, please do smash that like button, and if you're new around here, make sure to subscribe as well. But without further ado, let's jump into it. So before we look ahead to Game Week 26, let's review Game Week 25. And let me know down below in the comments how many points you have for Game Week 25. And listen, we're all about working smarter, not harder. For these Game Week review sections, I could probably just record a video of me saying, the team didn't do that well, but Mateta and Wood did really well. And that's basically what happens every single game week. I bought Wood and Mateta in maybe 7 or 8 games ago, the pair of them. There was one, I think Mateta I got 1 week earlier than Wood, but I've had them for about 7 or 8 game weeks. And in that time, they've scored, I think it's a combined 16 goals. Every week, my general team doesn't do that well, outside of the obvious players like Salah, sometimes Isak. And then Mateta and Wood just go absolutely nuclear for me. And I mean, this week, it was only a single goal for the pair of them, but they got me 30 points last week combined, and this week it's 16. So 46 points from 2 players in 2 weeks. And the thing is, a lot of people have Chris Wood, right? But Mateta is still 10% ownership at my rank. And the combined Mateta and Wood is extremely rare because a lot of people that don't have Wood would have Mateta instead. So basically what I'm saying is having the pair of them has been a bit of a differential for me, and they have massively overperformed. I feel extremely lucky. Mateta and Wood, if you look at their underlying data, they probably shouldn't have returned the amount they have, but they're brilliant for what they are, right? They are proper number 9s with excellent minutes on penalties, and both Palace and Forest are set up in such a way that everything goes through the pair of them. So basically, my game week review for the last 7 or 8 game weeks has been thank you to Mateta and Wood, and there have been points over that time where I've considered benching them or selling them. And I'm so glad that other things have happened that have forced me to make moves elsewhere, because I have been very close on numerous occasions to selling Chris Wood. And this week, I really didn't fancy him to do anything against Fulham away. It was his only shot in the game. Forest actually really struggled in that game against Fulham. Chris Wood only needs one opportunity. Once again, there was a slice of luck. The ball deflected onto him to get the ball. It was a lovely bit of footwork actually from Chris Wood, but then even the shot was deflected as well. But it's happened on such a regular basis, and he is such a good finisher, he just feels inevitable. So yeah, the pair of them have been absolutely brilliant for me over the last 7 or 8, but I do feel very lucky, and I'm always happy to admit when I've been lucky, that if you look at their XG over that time, as a collective, they've definitely outscored it. But Mateta himself keeps getting so many chances. Not only did he score, he missed a big chance, and he created a big chance too. So Mateta, I think, even more than Wood, has just been getting so many chances to score goals. So I won't say any more, because no one likes a smug raptor. You want me to be crying instead. But Mateta and Wood have been fantastic. Outside of that, yeah, there was a lot of disappointment, to be honest. Gabriel and Trent getting the clean sheets. Another, do you know what? I think I've been quite lucky recently, but another massive slice of luck with Trent, because he banked the clean sheet. Came off early because firstly, fitness, and also, I don't think Trent was fantastic either, but mainly due to fitness, Bradley came on, and just after Trent came off, Liverpool obviously conceded. Konate went off at half-time for a 0-pointer. Van Dijk got booked as well. So Trent outscoring all of the other Liverpool assets combined, in defence at least. And so that's fantastic, and there is, again, a slice of luck there. Gabriel getting the clean sheet. Arsenal did look very solid defensively, and it was always a good fixture for them from a defensive perspective. And then outside of that, it's just a team of blanks. So Mbermo with another blank. He did look lively, but nothing from him. I don't know if Palmer even had a shot on target in that game. Chelsea have been so disappointing. Munoz I had high hopes for, but he did so well for me last week, I can't really complain. Pickford did concede, but it was due to a Mateta goal. And overall, I would have rathered a Mateta goal than a Pickford clean sheet due to ownership, so I can't really complain there. Isak's so highly owned anyway. Should I have sold Isak to Watkins? I mean, in hindsight, maybe, but I didn't want to lose the value. He actually only had the one shot, I believe, but it was very close to going in. But yeah, it's very hindsighty for me to sit here and say I should have sold Isak. Again, I would have lost a lot of value if I'd have done so. And then Rodgers was probably the most disappointing. 5 shots in the box, 2 big chances, and 4 key passes for Rodgers in that game. It was over 1 XGI that he accumulated. I have no idea how Rodgers came away with the blank. And to be honest, I have no idea how Watkins only had 1 return. So I count myself slightly lucky because Watkins had 3 big chances that he didn't get more. And maybe slightly unlucky that Rodgers didn't get anything in that game. So, I mean, overall, when I looked at my team, it wasn't... Oh, I should say Arne Slot. I almost missed him in the top left corner. Also, I have the assistant manager chip active on Arne Slot. He picks up the 8. which is for 6 points for a win and then 2 points for a goal. So yeah, overall, mainly because I've got the assistant manager chip active, that's enough for a green arrow. If I didn't have the chip active, it would basically be a grey arrow. And yeah, it was just Wood, Mateta, a couple of clean sheets, and Arne Slot. If Wednesday goes horribly for me, so if Emery wins, if Aston Villa win 2 or 3-0, Emery gets like a 19 or 20 pointer, and Watkins gets a goal or two, this could quite easily be a red arrow for me. So it's definitely not a guaranteed green. But if Liverpool get the win, it would be very difficult for me to get a red arrow from now. So I basically need Liverpool to win on Wednesday, maybe Trent to get something, maybe Rodgers does get a goal as well in a Liverpool win, and then it should be a decent green arrow, which I'd be very happy with. And in all honesty, if you think about the way that I started the season, to be ranked where I am now, I'm delighted. Even if I do fall outside the top 100k, I'm still really happy with where I'm at. Let me know how many points you have in Game Week 25. All eyes on Wednesday. But for now, let's take a look at my team, the assistant manager chip, and a bit of planning ahead. So, taking an early look at my team ahead of Game Week 26, and there will be content throughout the week around my team, around the players that you should be looking to buy and sell, and also taking a more detailed look at the assistant manager chip, knowing who to transfer to for Game Week 26, whether we should chase the table bonus or not. So if you're excited for all that content, or if you're just new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. I really appreciate it. But this is, yeah, just a bit of an early look and what am I currently thinking around the players that I own. So as of right now, I've got 3 free transfers and 0.2 in the bank. So I do have a little bit of flexibility here, but unfortunately, I actually have quite a few players blanking in Game Week 29. So as of right now, just players that are blanking, not necessarily that I even want to sell, because like Enzo and Vandenberg technically have fixtures. Just players that are blanking, it's 6 already. You can bench 3 of them, of course. So let's say 3 need to be sold, but then I also have Enzo, Vandenberg, and some other players that might not necessarily be optimal for that game week. So I probably need to use at least booked in 5 transfers to remove a couple of rubbish players and also 3 players that are blanking, which I can do. Right? I've got 3 free transfers already. I'll get 1 more in 27, which make 4, 1 more in 28, which will make 5, and then 1 more in 29. So I've basically got enough transfers to deal with my team, field 11, make a couple of moves and have 1 spare. So I should be okay to deal with Game Week 29. It shouldn't be a massive issue. But if I have 2, 3 injuries that pop up in that time, which, by the way, is absolutely feasible. We've seen it with Amad Diallo picking up an injury and Gakpo picking up an injury. Injuries happen, or suspensions or random things that you can't predict with players being dropped. I might then get in a position where I have to start taking hits. And I don't mind taking hits if it allows me to save chips. But ideally, obviously, I'd rather use my free transfer. So that's the position that I'm in terms of building towards Game Week 29. But yeah, let's go through the players that I currently have as of right now. Pickford's got Man United at home. This feels honestly like a pretty decent fixture for Jordan Pickford. Man United are so toothless in the attack, and it's a home fixture, and they've looked really good under Moyes. Pickford will serve me well right up until Game Week 30. 30 and beyond, the fixtures are rubbish. You can see the first fixture underneath him is against Liverpool away. Then they've got like Arsenal and City, I believe, or Newcastle. Like, it's a really not a nice run of fixtures for Everton post the blank in 29. But remember that the current plan for chip strategy is probably to wildcard somewhere between Game Week 30 and 32. So I might have to keep Pickford for a couple of rubbish fixtures, but then I'll probably wildcard him out and then attack the back end of the season. So Pickford for now is fine, basically. Fabianski obviously still doesn't have his place back in the starting 11, and I don't think he will. Areola's actually been pretty decent from the games that I've watched from him. So the goalkeeper positions are fine. In terms of the defence, I think it's largely okay for now. Like, I don't love Trent for City away, but I'm not going to start... Actually, could I start Robinson ahead of him? That's something to consider, actually. I didn't really think about. I mean, I've got Mateta in my team, right? So initially, I was like, I'm just going to put Robinson on the bench because I back Mateta to do something. I've got Munoz, who I hope will get an attacking return. But maybe starting Robinson against Palace at home isn't much worse than Trent against City away. Let me know what you think of that one. But yeah, I think Trent, I'm okay to have in my team for the time being. I do think that I could end up selling him, but he's got Southampton at home in Game Week 28. So if I do sell Trent, it will be literally ahead of Game Week 29. It won't be any earlier because I really want him for that game against Southampton at home. Gabriel, I've also got in there. Honestly, this is their final, like, really decent fixture in terms of from a defensive perspective. Although, I say that, they've got Forest and United away after that. Forest are a decent attack. They do score goals, but they're not a brilliant attack. They're still bottom half of the table for non-penalty expected goals per game. And Man United, as I said, it's a pretty decent fixture. So actually, I really don't mind keeping Gabriel for at least the next 4 or 5. I'll probably keep him for the remainder of the season, but I will assess on the wildcard Do I feel like it's a good use of funds to still have an Arsenal defender in there, considering they might not have a double for the remainder of the season? So that's something to assess. But for now, Trent and Gabriel, they are pretty reliable. They've both got clean sheets for me this week. I'm pretty happy having the pair of them. Munoz and Robinson are also really good. Like, they've got a lot of attacking threat. Robinson could have had another assist, by the way, in Game Week 25, and I'm glad he didn't because he was on my bench. Munoz was very attacking. I know he got the 1 pointer, but I watched the full game because obviously I had Mateta and Munoz and Pickford in my starting 11. And Munoz was always one of the most advanced players for Palace. So I think for me, Munoz and Robinson are fine keeps. In terms of who I start this week, if it was like in isolation, let's say I didn't have another 10 players in my team. I was just saying, which player would I rather have for this week? I might choose Robinson, but just because I'm starting Mateta, I'd rather put all of my eggs in one basket. If I'm starting Mateta, I'm hoping he scores. And if he scores, he's going to wipe out my Robinson clean sheet. Whereas I obviously don't have a Fulham attacker. So I just think for that reason, I'm currently leaning to start Munoz. But like I said, I could start one of them ahead of Trent if not. The 4 of them are okay for now. Vandenberg went off for an injury just before the 60th minute. So Brentford actually kept a clean sheet. Vandenberg went off just before that. It didn't sound great, but I've not seen a statement come out about whether he's going to be fit in the upcoming games, whether it's a serious injury. I kind of wanted to sell Vandenberg anyway, like Vandenberg to Howson or something like that, to give me 5 strong defenders and to also give me a better player for blank Game Week 29. That was on the cards anyway. So all this might do if Vandenberg is out long term is just encourage me even more to make what feels like a slightly luxury transfer. Because if Vandenberg's fit, he's got a fixture in Game Week 29, but it might just give me that nudge to make a transfer. So basically, Vandenberg's the only defender that I'm currently right now planning to take out, but I do have an eye on maybe removing Trent. And obviously, Munoz blanks in Game Week 29. So unless I plan on benching Munoz in 29, which, by the way, is a possibility considering they've got Southampton in 30, I'm probably looking to sell Munoz, but it will once again be after Game Week 28 because they've got Ipswich at home in 28. So yeah, that's the situation with the defence. In the midfield, I'm actually not happy with this at all right now. Salah, great. Probably going to captain him this week, although there is a discussion as to whether I captain Mbeumo. But Mbeumo himself has been really disappointing recently. He's looked very lively. His expected liveliness has been very high, but that's not really translating to points and really clear-cut opportunities right now. So whilst he's a flat-track bully, and whilst Leicester feels like a great fixture for him, I find it difficult to go against Mohamed Salah. Although, again, City did look very good against Newcastle, so there is an opportunity there. Palmer's been so disappointing, and I think that's more Chelsea than it is Palmer, but he's a lot of money sat there right now. The issue we've got with Palmer is he's got Southampton and Leicester after Villa, both at home. No one in their right mind can sell Palmer now ahead of Southampton at home and Leicester at home. So we've almost got to keep Palmer until the blank game week. Then you're probably going to have other issues to sort in the blank, so then it's probably from 30 onwards that you might look to move on Cole Palmer. So right now, Salah, Palmer and Mbeumo, again, because they're on penalty set pieces, 90 minutes, they're going to be staying in my team for the foreseeable future. So really the other 2 spots, I don't like them at all right now. Morgan Rogers, after this double, was always going to be on the chopping block for me. He's got Chelsea, which right now doesn't seem that awful. Then Crystal Palace and Brentford away, then a blank, then Brighton away. So after the Chelsea game, it's 3 away games and a blank. Overall, I just don't desperately want or need him for those sets of fixtures. And he's on 8 yellow cards as well. So if he picks up 2 more yellows in this time before Game Week 32, he will be suspended for 2 games. And he's just not doing it in the Premier League. I don't think he's returned. It's like 5 or 6 Premier League games in a row that he's blank right now. So let's see how he gets on against Liverpool. Maybe he'll be back in my good books and I want to keep him. But I just see some other better cheap midfielders right now. And Enzo, I don't want Enzo either. I mean, at least he plays in 29 and he does have Southampton and Leicester coming up. But I don't really want to play Enzo, even in those fixtures. He did get a goal disallowed, a little shove in the back when he scored the header. So maybe if he'd have scored that, I'd be feeling a bit better about him. But basically, I don't think anyone would choose from 26 and beyond to have Rodgers and Enzo in their team. I'd like 2 Bournemouth midfielders. If you gave me now the opportunity to just switch Rodgers and Enzo to Cliver and Dango, I'd much rather that. And that is a possibility, right? I've got 3 free transfers. If I can free up a lot of money by downgrading on a slot, as I'll discuss in a second, that might give me the funds to go out there and get 2 Bournemouth midfielders. So that's a possibility. I also think Ethan Nwaneri was exceptional in that Leicester game. Like, so good. And he's only, I think he's 4.5 right now, but he looks like he's going to go up to 4.6. That's such a cheap price. So I am looking at Rodgers and Enzo in my team and just thinking I'd quite like to get rid of the pair of them, but I probably only need to remove one right now. And I think I'm leaning towards removing Rodgers first, because again, Enzo at least has a fixture in 29. even though it's Arsenal. Rodgers is more expensive as well, and he's got that yellow card issue hanging over him. So I think right now I'm actually leaning more towards selling Rodgers than I am selling Enzo. But again, if Rodgers does really well against Liverpool, that might change my mind. In terms of the front line, I've been saying for ages now that I could see myself potentially selling some of them. I just don't think I'm going to right now because the forward options just aren't that interesting for me. I love Wissa. I think Wissa is such a brilliant asset, and Leicester away feels great. But do I need to rush any of my front three out right now for Wissa? I'm not as convinced, especially because after that Leicester game, it's then Everton and Villa, both at home, but also not bad teams, especially the way Everton are playing right now. Then it's Bournemouth away, then Newcastle away. So the Leicester game is really the banker fixture that I want Wissa for, and he would have to go really big for me to justify the move. I love Mateus Cunha, but really when I would want Cunha is game week 29 against Southampton. I don't really feel like I need Cunha before that. And then there is someone like Marmoush, but he's got Liverpool this week. Do I need to rush out and buy Marmoush before Liverpool? Maybe. He did look really, really good. And I do think City could do a little bit of damage in that game. But I guess because of how well Mateta and Wood are doing, and because of how good we know Isak is, I have to see a really sensational replacement that makes me want to desperately remove any of the three, especially when transfers are so precious right now. So I think as of right now, the front three is probably going to stay the same, and I think the defence will probably stay the same for now, but those midfielders, especially Rodgers and Enzo, could be sold for me. In terms of Arne Slot, there is definitely part of me that's just thinking, Ross, you've got so many other things to sort in coming weeks. You really want to build towards blank game week 29. Liverpool are the best team in the league, and City, as good as they were against Newcastle, are so inconsistent. Just keep Arne Slot. Part of me is just tempted to do that. But at the same time, I've said with the assistant managership, I either want two things. I want a really strong, dominant favourite, a team that you just expect to win the game 9 times out of 10. And you might say that is the case of Liverpool, but I'm not sure in a game like this that I do. So I either want a really strong favourite or I want a table bonus. Slot isn't in this game for me, or Liverpool aren't, strong favourites and they're not getting a table bonus. So I would rather remove Slot for a team that I think is much more likely to get a win, or what I think is slightly more likely right now is go after and chase the table bonus. The other thing about removing Arne Slot is unless I go out there and get a 1.5 million manager, which I think I'm less likely to do right now, it will also free up some funds. Because if I want to sell Enzo rather than Rodgers, say like Enzo to Dango, I do need to free up a bit of money. Or if I want Kluivert for Rodgers rather than Dango, I then need to free up money to go from Rodgers to Kluivert. So a lot of the transfers that involve me selling my cheaper midfielders require some funds, and downgrading Arne Slot would do that for me. So as of right now, and this is very early, I might change my mind, I am probably looking at downgrading Arne Slot because I want to chase a little bit of more upside, but also to free up some funds to use for the remainder of my team. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm almost certain I won't be rolling the transfer this week, and I'm pretty sure I'll be using 2 transfers, one to downgrade Slot and one to make a midfield move. So let's take a look at that assistant manager situation and also take a look at my watch list as well. So I am recording this during the Manchester United Spurs game, and it's currently 1-0 to Spurs. And if Spurs get the win, it does offer a lot more for table bonus than if they don't get the win. So from an FPL assistant manager perspective, I certainly hope they don't, but that would be a major advantage, I think, for those looking to use a transfer on an assistant manager, because it opens up assistant manager options such as Glasner, who I do think could be a slightly exciting option that would give you table bonus. So I guess you're only going to see this section if the table bonus stays the same. Otherwise, I'm going to have to re-record this section. But on the basis of what the table looks like right now, what I've done is I've just taken a screenshot of the fixtures on the FPL site, and then I've highlighted the teams. If the team is highlighted in blue, it means that they will get a table bonus for the assistant manager. And again, you get 10 extra points for a win. So it's 16 points for a table bonus win and 5 extra points for a table bonus draw, which means 8 points for a table bonus draw. Therefore, going for the table bonus makes a lot of sense. It's why Moyes owners did so well. Obviously, the flip side is if you're backing a team that are 5 places lower than the team they're playing against, then they probably aren't as good as the team they're playing against. So you are largely going to be backing the underdogs, but there are some opportunities. So the teams highlighted in blue is the table bonus, and the teams highlighted in green is just, for me, I'm like, they are strong favourites. I would bring that manager in because I really do expect them to win that game. If they are strong favourites, it probably means you shouldn't back the table bonus as much in that game. But really, I just trust your gut feeling. Like, you could just ignore all of this and just say, I just think Newcastle will beat Nottingham Forest. I'm going to go for Eddie Howe. That's absolutely fine. You could keep Arne Slot because you think Liverpool beat City. That's fine. You could go out there and just say, do you know what? He doesn't get table bonus, but I think Man United are rubbish. I'm going to go for David Moyes. I think Everton will beat Man United. That's also okay. So you don't have to go along with my logic of thinking here. But yeah, I think at the moment, there are two clear options, not clear at all. Let me rephrase that. There are two options for me that are ahead of the others, but it's very early, and that is Glasner and Hertzler. Glasner at the moment, Crystal Palace are 5 places below Fulham. So Fulham are 8th, Palace are 13th. And so he gets the table bonus. And for Hertzler, obviously there's no table bonus, but I would really expect and hope that Brighton would beat Southampton. Southampton only have 9 points in the Premier League this season. They really are the worst team in the league. So Hertzler would free up 0.4 million for me and has a really good chance of winning the game, I think. And Glasner, I think Fulham are a better team than Palace, right? That's why they're higher in the table. But I feel like that could be a close game. I feel like it could be a very similar game to the Forest one in terms of scoreline, and maybe Glasner could nick the win. Crystal Palace have actually been better away from home this season than they have been at home. They've not been as good at Selhurst Park. So, I don't know. I just think that Glasner has an opportunity there away at Craven Cottage. I don't think it's that likely, but then again, as I said, the sheer idea of table bonus is probably never going to be that likely that they get the win. Some other options that you have, you could back Leicester, you could back Ipswich, or you could back Southampton. So back one of the 3 bottom teams in the league. I think Kieran McKenna against Spurs is going to be very, very popular. Because Spurs aren't particularly consistent, we know they can drop a stinker. And Ipswich at points have shown something about themselves. I mean, against Aston Villa, they were really, really solid. So I think that will be popular too. I also don't hate the idea of Vitor Pereira. Wolves have impressed me at various points under Vitor Pereira, but Bournemouth are so good. And I just think I probably wouldn't go for Iraola because I think Wolves are good. And Wolves showed a lot about them against Liverpool, but I wouldn't predict Wolves to win that game. I would predict Bournemouth to. And if I'm going to be bringing in potentially a Bournemouth midfielder, also going for Vitor Pereira seems a little bit counterintuitive. The other option you've got is just going for like a real sort of bigger team. So going for someone like Arteta against West Ham at home. That feels like an okay option, right? You would expect, even with the injuries they've got, that Arsenal will beat West Ham. They've not really got fully going under Potter West Ham, so that's an option there. Or like I said, you just back your gut feeling. Like Emery's not going to get a table bonus, but if you've got Unai Emery and you think Villa will beat Chelsea, just keep Unai Emery. Again, it's a shame he's not going to get the bonus for you, but that's an option. I will discuss this more throughout the week when I definitely have 100% confirmation on the table bonus situation, but also once I've looked into it in a bit more detail. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to look into like home and away form a lot more. I'm going to look at different things about when teams perform slightly better, against which sort of opposition. I'm going to really try and spend as much time getting this right. But right now, I'm leaning towards either going for a clear favourite, like I said, Hertzler against Southampton, or chasing a table bonus for teams where I think the game will be close. Like I think Fulham Palace is a close game. Let me know what you think around the assistant manager. Let me know if you're planning on keeping it on Emery or Slot, or if you're looking to move it on. And yeah, like I said, we'll discuss this more throughout the week. So guys, then just moving on to my watch list, it is still basically Bournemouth players, so I'm not going to spend too long on this section because the final thing I'll do is sort of run through my team for the upcoming game weeks and you'll see it in a bit more detail. But Bournemouth just cover you so well. They've still got good fixtures even after the Southampton game over the next few. They're performing at such a high level. And then they've got a good fixture in blank Game Week 29. And then even beyond Game Week 29, going into Game Week 30, they've still got a good couple of fixtures. So I just feel like they cover you so well. And even if you did randomly decide to still free hit in 29, it's not like going for a Bournemouth player would be a waste. So I just feel like there's safety right now in a team that are performing so incredibly well with really good cheap assets. Like their most expensive player we're looking at is Cliver at 6 million. You've got Howson, who has gone up in price, but still 4.5. Dango Ouattara, as of me recording this, is still 5.1 million, playing as the number 9 for one of the best attacks in the league. I really like the look of Bournemouth, and I feel like every week I'm going to be sat there feeling like I want more than one even. And right now, I have 0. The only other interesting players, then, like I said, Nwaneri is interesting to me. If I want to go for 2 midfielders, and I can't afford 2 Bournemouth mids, let's say I want to replace Rodgers and Enzo, which is a possibility, I could do something like Enzo to Nwaneri and Rodgers to Dango. 2 very cheap assets, but 2 assets that are probably performing above what their price tag is. So yeah, I think outside of Bournemouth, it's only Nwaneri that's really interesting me. You do have Trossard, who also got an assist in that game, but he's just very expensive. And as of right now, I just don't have that funds available in the midfield. In the forward line, I'm very happy with my 3 forwards, but as I said, it's Wissa, Cunha, and Marmoush that I'm interested in. Marmoush ahead of blank game at 29 for Brighton at home. He's a really interesting option to me. If Haaland is out, It looks like his injury wasn't as serious as was first feared. He could even be on penalties, but he started all 3 Premier League games since he's been available. So I just think Marmoush's minutes, I think he's got 70 to 75 in all of them. So he's not getting tons, he's not getting 90, but I do think he'll start more games than he doesn't. And it's just nice to have a City attacker if they start to purr in their attack again. But yeah, Wissa gets so many chances. 2 disallowed goals, by the way, in Game Week 25. Very unlucky for owners. And Cunha's Cunha. Cunha just scores goals regardless of the opposition. Always good for bonus. As of me recording this, he's on 3 bonus for that game against Liverpool for that 1 goal. So the 3 of them offer really nice opportunities for me. And when I sell Mateta probably ahead of the blank, I'll be looking at the 3 of them. But as of right now, I don't feel the need to rush them in. So that's the watch list. Let's then in the final section just look at planning ahead a little bit and what I might potentially be doing with my team. So guys, what I thought I'd do for this final section is just jump over to Fantasy Football Hub, do a little bit of planning ahead and see what the team might shape up like for Game Week 29, which is the blank game week that we're building towards. And we'd ideally like to not use the free hit in. If you do want to get access to Fantasy Football Hub and do a little bit of planning ahead, I will leave a link down below in the description to 30% off. They do often offer free trials as well, so see if one of those is available. But yeah, it's definitely worth using. It just allows you to get a little bit nerdier with FPL, and I do like the My Team feature. So what I've done, I'm not saying I'll use it on Hertzler, but Hertzler's 1.1 million. And I think as of right now, that's the most expensive I'd go if I were to transfer slot out. So let's go for Hertzler, just because obviously it would involve me having the least money available as a sort of worst case scenario. But if I end up going for a 0.5 or a 0.8 million manager, then obviously, 0.8 million manager, then that would make it a little bit easier for me in terms of funds. What that would do is give me 2 free transfers and give me 0.6 million in the bank. So the immediate thought for me, like I said, was Rodgers out. So I'd have 5.9 to spend. So if I go for a Hertzler or a 1.1 million manager, I wouldn't have enough to go for Cliver. But as of right now anyway, I think I want Dango Watara. He's playing as the 9. He's got the most outright goal threat. And I don't think his minutes are showing many signs, at least, of coming down. Like, the only thing I can think of is Ivan Nilsson comes back earlier than expected. But I don't imagine that'll be from Game Week 30 and beyond anyway. And if I have to sell Dango in Game Week 30 or 31, so be it. I might even be able to bench him, considering I'll be able to wildcard around that time as well. So I think Dango Watara coming in for Rodgers is the most likely. So yeah, assistant manager, change, downgrade of some kind, and then Dango in for Rodgers. That would leave me with one transfer obviously in 26, which means going into Game Week 27, I'd have 2 free transfers. And I think the plan for then 27 and 28 is to just not use transfers. I'll change this to 1 predicted game week so you can see the fixtures a bit better. But basically then, yeah, 2 free transfers. I don't think I need to make a transfer. By the way, the team doesn't look great by any means. Wood against Arsenal's not great. Mateta against Villa at home's not perfect. I mean, I could play Robinson if I wanted instead of Munoz against Wolves away, so I have a little bit of a choice there defensively. I honestly don't expect much in 27. 28, on the other hand, is a really strong game week for me. So 27, I'd have 2 free transfers. 28, I'd have 3 free transfers. And it's a really solid week where I just definitely don't need to be using a transfer. I'd probably, again, have Dango instead of Enzo in there. The front 3's all got really decent fixtures. Wood playing against City at home I'm perfectly okay with. Which means that going into game week 29 then, it says assistant manager chip is in play. It most certainly wouldn't be. And I'd obviously have freed up at that point 1.9 million. So I've just edited that now for 1.9. Ignore where it says assistant manager chip in play. But that would be the Hertzler money will be coming back into my team. So if I've got this right, this planning ahead, I would have 4 free transfers in 29 and I'd have 1.9 million in the bank to play with. And I would plan on using all 4 of them. There is a world in which you just don't field a particularly great team, which is okay. And you just realise that actually I'd rather use my transfers building from 30 and beyond. But considering I'm planning on wildcarding between 30 and 32 anyway, I'd rather just make sure that my team's not absolutely stinking for 29. So what would I need to do at this point? Well, I've got Munoz blanking, Mateta blanking, Isak blanking, Trent, Salah blanking, and I've got obviously Vandenberg and Enzo who aren't particularly good players. So what I think the plan would be, let's go through it. So I think I'd want to keep Isak and Salah due to the amount of money that I've got tied up in them. I'd want to keep Mateta ideally, but because I don't have much money tied up in him, and I don't really want to play with only Chris Wood as a forward, if I obviously end up keeping Mateta and Isak on the bench, I think I'd probably end up selling Isak. So which means I could maybe keep Munoz on the bench. So maybe the 3 players that I have blanking in 29, again, this is a really rough plan, but might be Munoz, Salah, Isak, which should put me in a 4-4-2, and I'd have 4 free transfers to use. So what I'd be looking at is something like either Cunha or Marmoush. I haven't decided as of right now. I'll say Mateus Cunha, but Marmoush would be extremely tempting. And I could obviously sell Isak for Marmoush if I wanted to. I would then probably take out Enzo for Kluivert. It's a little bit late to be jumping on Kluivert, but he's got Brentford at home. He's on penalties. He's still quite cheap. And then to replace Trent, I could literally go anywhere I wanted. So I could even go full Bournemouth, right? Just go for Kirkes if I wanted to. And then Vandenberg, I'd have the 4th free transfer to use to replace him. And again, it could be any defender I wanted, but maybe I even go back in for my Wolves boys and go for something like Ryan Aït-Nouri. It's not a great team, but like if you free hit, you would definitely expect to outscore this team. But remember that this saves me the free hit for blank game week 34, which I think could be another really difficult week to deal with. So that's roughly what I'm looking like in the build-up. If I make those transfers, if we then go ahead to sort of game week 30, again, ignore it as assistant managership in play and optimize the team, it looks unreal, really. Apart from Pickford, that back line is insane. The midfield having Dango and Kluivert against Ipswich. Wood's got United at home. Isak against Brentford at home. Cunha against West Ham at home. It's a really... I mean, at the moment, I've got Mbermo on the bench here, which I wouldn't love, but you probably don't need to wildcard in 30. If you then skip ahead to 31, the team doesn't look quite as good, but it still holds its own, which is why at the moment, a really rough plan for me is to wildcard in game week 32. That's the double game week for Palace and for Newcastle. So I'm going to want to have ideally 6 assets from those two. And then I want to set up for the doubles in 33 as well. For a probable, at the moment, it's a probable bench boost in 33. They've got some of the projected fixtures over at Fantasy Football Hub. So if you want to look at those, it's quite exciting. But again, these are all projections that could very much easily change. But that would want where I'd want to be in terms of playing the bench boost. So rough plan at the moment, again, a little bit messy, is to get through blank game week 29 with free transfers, to wildcard in 32, bench boost in 33, and then in what is likely to be a pretty big blank, as you can see by the red fixtures, I'd like you then free hit in game week 34, and then from 35 and beyond, just deal with it as per normal game weeks with no remaining chips. Hopefully that makes sense in terms of the plan. Let me know if that resonates with what you're planning, and I'll update that in the coming weeks as well. So guys, there you have it. That is my Game Week 26 early thoughts and transfer plans. Hopefully you did enjoy. And if you did, please do smash that like button. And if you've got to this point and you're not subscribed, please do navigate to that button, hit the subscribe. It really does support me. I appreciate it so much. Until next time, thank you very much. Bye-bye.